When a woman greets you in a way that feels different, the difference isn't in what she says, it's in what she brings with her emotionally. Most men listen to words, but attraction speaks first through energy. And when a woman is genuinely drawn to you, when she's more than just interested, her greeting carries an emotional charge that can't be faked for long. Think about how people usually greet each other. It's neutral, efficient, almost automatic. A nod, a quick smile, a polite hey, there's no investment there. But when a woman is emotionally invested in you, neutrality disappears. Her presence shifts, her voice changes, the timing of her greeting changes. Even the silence before she speaks becomes meaningful. These are not conscious choices. They are involuntary expressions of emotional alignment. Psychologically, this happens because attraction heightens awareness. When she sees you, her nervous system reacts before her logic does. Dopamine rises, attention narrows, emotional energy moves outward. And that energy has to go somewhere. It shows up in enthusiasm, warmth, or a subtle nervous excitement that feels alive rather than controlled. This is why her greeting may feel slightly exaggerated compared to how she treats others. She might smile longer than necessary. Her voice may soften or lift. She may say your name in a way that feels personal, not routine. None of this is accidental. The body leaks truth long before the mind decides what it's safe to admit. There's also an important philosophical layer here. Attraction is not about approval, it's about resonance. When her greeting carries emotional energy, it means she feels something unresolved in your presence. Curiosity, desire, anticipation. You represent a possibility, not a conclusion, and possibilities demand attention. Men often sabotage this moment by rushing past it. They talk too much. They seek validation. They try to match her energy with forced enthusiasm or humor. But the power of this moment is in reception, not reaction. The man who understands emotional energy doesn't try to dominate it. He allows it to land by staying grounded, calm, and present. You give her emotional space to feel what she's feeling. You don't interrupt the signal with insecurity or overperformance. You let the moment breathe. And that restraint is deeply attractive because it communicates self-control. Another key detail most men miss is consistency. If her greeting energy changes specifically when she sees you, brighter than with others, warmer than before, that pattern matters more than intensity. Attraction reveals itself in repetition. One enthusiastic greeting could be coincidence. A pattern is confession. And notice this. Women rarely invest emotional energy without reason. Emotional energy is currency. She spends it where there's perceived value and emotional safety. So if she brings it to you freely, she's already decided on some level that you matter. Your responsibility in that moment is not to chase the feeling, but to anchor it. When you respond with calm confidence, steady eye contact, and unforced presence, you transform her emotional spark into connection. You show her that excitement around you doesn't lead to chaos, it leads to clarity. This is why emotionally strong men are greeted differently, not because they demand attention, but because their presence invites it. They don't hunt signals, they recognize them. So the next time a woman greets you with warmth that feels personal, with energy that feels alive, don't ask yourself what it means. Ask yourself who you're being in that moment. Because the way you receive her emotional energy determines whether attraction deepens or dissipates. And here's the truth to leave you with. When a woman's greeting carries emotion, she's already leaning toward you. Your job is not to push or pull. Your job is to stand still enough for her to feel safe leaning further. After emotional energy, the next unmistakable signal appears even faster, often before she's aware of it herself. The moment she sees you, neutrality breaks, and this is critical because neutrality is the default state between strangers and acquaintances. Attraction disrupts that state immediately. A woman who feels nothing for you can remain emotionally flat. Her body stays relaxed but closed. Her face stays composed. Her movements are efficient, almost invisible. But when she's genuinely drawn to you, when there's desire, curiosity, or emotional attachment, her body reacts before her mind has time to regulate it. This is basic psychology. The body processes emotional relevance milliseconds before conscious thought. So when you walk into her visual field, her nervous system answers a silent question: does this person matter to me? If the answer is yes, neutrality collapses. You'll see it in small but telling shifts. Her posture opens slightly. Her shoulders relax or square toward you. Her head tilts. Her eyes lock on you longer than necessary. Sometimes she freezes for a split second, as if recalibrating. These aren't rehearsed behaviors, they're involuntary. This is why men who understand attraction watch transitions, not actions. It's not what she does, it's how quickly she changes when you arrive. If her emotional temperature rises the moment she sees you, that's not coincidence, that's priority. There's also a deeper layer here that most men misunderstand. When neutrality breaks, it doesn't always break into overt excitement. Sometimes it breaks into composure. A woman who is crazy for you may actually appear more controlled, more deliberate, even quieter, not because she's disinterested, but because she suddenly feels seen. Strong attraction creates self-awareness. She becomes conscious of herself in your presence. That self-awareness can look like nervousness, poise, restraint, or heightened politeness. But underneath it is the same truth. You matter enough to disrupt her baseline. Philosophically, this is important. We are most neutral around what doesn't affect us. Indifference is calm because nothing is at stake. The moment something is at stake, emotionally, psychologically, romantically, neutrality becomes impossible. This is why men who rely only on verbal enthusiasm often miss the signal. A woman may greet you politely, even softly, yet her body has already leaned toward you. She may not say much, but she has already adjusted herself around you. That adjustment is attraction revealing itself in real time. Now here's where masculine awareness becomes crucial. Many men react to this break in neutrality by rushing in. They fill the space. They try to capitalize on the moment. They mistake emotional shift for an invitation to perform. But the most powerful response is stillness. When you don't rush to dominate the moment, you allow her emotional shift to complete itself. You let her feel the contrast between how she was before you arrived and how she is now. That contrast is what deepens attraction. By staying grounded, calm voice, relaxed body, unforced eye contact, you communicate something profound. Her emotional reaction doesn't destabilize you. And that is incredibly reassuring, because now, instead of worrying about managing the interaction, she can experience it. Over time, if this pattern repeats, if neutrality consistently breaks when you appear, she associates you with emotional stimulation and safety at the same time. Excitement without anxiety. Presence without pressure. And that's rare. So the next time you walk into a space and feel the air shift around one woman, don't chase the shift. Don't test it. Simply notice it and stay rooted. Because when neutrality breaks in your presence, attraction has already begun speaking. And the man who recognizes that doesn't need confirmation. He becomes the confirmation. Once neutrality breaks, the next signal becomes even more revealing because it's about priority. When a woman is deeply attracted to you, she doesn't just acknowledge your presence, she places you at the center of her awareness. And this often happens before she consciously chooses it. She notices you before she notices the room. Most people enter a space and orient themselves to their environment first. They scan who's there, what's happening, where they belong. That's normal. But when a woman is crazy for you, that order flips. You become the reference point. Everything else becomes background noise. Psychologically, this is selective attention at work. The brain prioritizes emotionally significant stimuli. When why matter to her, your presence cuts through distractions. Her attention narrows. Time compresses. For a brief moment, the environment fades and you come into focus. This is why her greeting may feel immediate, even instinctive. She doesn't wait to settle in. She doesn't check her phone first. She doesn't finish the conversation she was in with the same intensity. Her attention shifts toward you almost reflexively. And this is not about rudeness or lack of social awareness. It's about emotional gravity. What holds emotional weight pulls attention toward itself. Philosophically, this reveals something powerful about attraction. We don't prioritize what we like, we prioritize what moves us. When she orients towards you first, it means you've crossed from being a social option to being an emotional anchor. Men often miss this because they're looking for grand gestures. But attraction is subtle before it's loud. It whispers through micro-prioritization, the quick glance that turns into sustained eye contact, the way her body angles towards you even while she's mid-conversation, the pause she creates just to acknowledge you fully. And notice this, when a woman prioritizes you in her awareness, she often mirrors your emotional pace. If you're calm, she slows down. If you're grounded, she settles. This is unconscious synchronization, and it's one of the clearest signs of emotional alignment. However, this is also where many men unknowingly break the spell. They feel chosen and they rush to validate it. They interrupt her process by demanding attention rather than receiving it. They talk too much, they seek reassurance, they turn her instinctive prioritization into a performance test. But attraction doesn't grow under inspection, it grows under presence. The man who understands this allows her to place him at the center without exploiting it. He doesn't pull her further away from the environment. He becomes the calm center she naturally returns to. His stillness gives her permission to stay oriented toward him. There's also an important emotional safety signal here. When a woman prioritizes you first, she's momentarily vulnerable. She's revealing preference. And preference always carries risk. If you respond with ego or neediness, she'll retreat to protect herself. But if you respond with relaxed confidence, you tell her something crucial. Her attention is welcome, but not demanded. That balance creates trust. Over time, this pattern compounds. She begins to associate you with clarity in a noisy world, with focus in a distracted space, with emotional grounding in social chaos. And that's when attraction deepens beyond excitement. It becomes attachment. So if you want to recognize when a woman is truly drawn to you, stop watching what she says and start watching what she orients toward. Notice who becomes her first point of contact when you arrive. Because when you are acknowledged before the environment, you are no longer just present, you are significant, and significance, handled with restraint and self-possession, is what turns attention into desire. After priority comes personalization, and this is where attraction stops being generic and becomes intentional. Politeness is easy. Anyone can be polite. But when a woman is truly drawn to you, her greeting stops sounding like something she could say to anyone else. It starts sounding like something meant specifically for you. Psychologically, personalization is effort, and effort is never random. The human mind conserves energy unless there's emotional payoff. So when a woman invests attention in the way she greets you, when she remembers details, adjusts her tone, or chooses words that feel familiar rather than formal, she's signaling attachment, not courtesy. You'll hear it in subtle ways. She may say your name differently, softer or more playful. She might reference something only the two of you share, even if it's small. She could tease you lightly or check in on something she remembers mattered to you. These details aren't accidents, they're emotional fingerprints. This is where many men misread attraction. They assume attraction is loud and obvious, but real attraction often hides in refinement, in the effort to be specific, in the desire to be understood by you, not just acknowledged by you. Philosophically, personalization is how we say, you're not interchangeable, and that matters deeply, because attraction grows when a person feels seen, not evaluated, not impressed, seen. There's also a vulnerability in this. When she personalizes a greeting, she's stepping out of emotional safety. Generic politeness protects you from rejection. Personalization exposes preference, and preference risks disappointment. This is why a woman who's crazy for you may personalize even while pretending she's calm. It's her compromise between desire and self-protection. She lets you in, but only just enough to test whether it's safe. And here's the crucial part. How you respond determines whether she leans further or pulls back. Men often overreact to personalization. They exaggerate their response. They mirror too hard. They seek to escalate immediately. But escalation isn't connection. It's pressure. The grounded response is acknowledgement without inflation. You receive her personalization warmly, but you don't cling to it. You respond in kind, but not in excess. This communicates emotional maturity, because now you're telling her, I notice you, but I don't need you to perform for me. That creates safety. There's also a deeper psychological dynamic at play. When a woman personalizes her greeting, she's checking whether you're emotionally leader, enough to recognize nuance. Can you read between the lines? Can you appreciate subtle effort without demanding more? Men who fail this test often push for clarity too soon. They want verbal confirmation, labels, certainty, but attraction thrives in implication before declaration. When you allow personalization to exist without forcing definition, you let attraction breathe. You give her space to invest more naturally. Over time, this creates a feedback loop. She personalizes more because she feels safe doing so. You respond with presence, not hunger, and the connection deepens without strain. This is why men who understand women don't rush intimacy. They cultivate familiarity. Familiarity builds trust. Trust builds desire. So if you want to know whether a woman is genuinely into you, listen for the difference between politeness and personal touch. One is social habit, the other is emotional choice. And remember this, when a woman chooses to greet you personally, she's not just saying hello, she's quietly saying, "You matter to me." Your job is not to grab that meaning, but to honor it with composure. Because attraction doesn't grow through urgency, it grows through recognition, met with restraint. Once a greeting becomes personal, the next signal reveals something even deeper: intention. When a woman is truly attracted, she doesn't just acknowledge you, she creates a moment around you. And moments require time, attention, and emotional presence. They don't happen by accident. Most greetings are transactional: a quick exchange, a smile, then movement. But when she's crazy, for you, she resists ending the interaction too quickly. She lingers. She asks a follow-up question. She pauses as if there's more she wants to say. This is not coincidence. It's desire looking for space to exist. Psychologically, this happens because attraction heightens emotional reward. Your presence feels good to her nervous system, so she unconsciously seeks to extend it. Time stretches when emotional engagement is high. This is why she might slow her pace, stay standing instead of walking away, or keep the conversation open even when she has somewhere to be. And notice something important here. She's not always trying to impress you. Often, she's simply trying to remain connected. The effort isn't performative, it's relational. Philosophically, creating a moment is how we turn contact into connection. It's the difference between brushing past someone and stepping into the same emotional space. And when a woman does this with you, she's signaling more than attraction. She's signaling willingness. But here's where many men misinterpret the signal. They assume the moment exists to be filled with jokes, stories, or escalation. So they talk too much, they over-explain, they rush intimacy, and in doing so, they collapse the very space that made the moment special. The power move is restraint. When you allow the moment to exist without crowding it, you become emotionally grounded. You don't rush to extract validation from her attention. You stay present, listen fully, and respond with calm interest. This communicates confidence at a level words never could. Because now, instead of feeling managed, she feels met. There's also a subtle test happening here. When she creates a moment, she's watching how you handle unstructured intimacy. Can you stay comfortable without direction? Can you allow silence without anxiety? Can you be present without performing? Men who pause. This test don't try to win the moment, they inhabit it. Over time, this changes how she associates you emotionally. You become someone she feels relaxed around, not someone she has to entertain or impress. That emotional ease is rare and it's addictive. This is why women often say they feel drawn to certain men without knowing why. It's not the words, it's the way those men allow moments to unfold naturally without force. And here's something even deeper. When she creates a moment and you don't exploit it, she feels respected. Not in a moral sense, but in an emotional one. You're showing her that her presence is valued, not consumed. That builds trust. And trust transforms attraction into desire. So the next time a woman lingers in your presence, extends the greeting, holds eye contact, asks one more question, don't rush to capitalize on it. Let it breathe. Let it deepen. Because moments are where connection is born. And the man who knows how to hold a moment without grasping becomes the man she wants to create more moments with. If you remember nothing else, remember this: attraction doesn't grow from doing more. It grows from allowing more. And those who understand that never struggle to be remembered. There's one final signal that often reveals more than everything that comes before it, because it happens after the greeting is technically over. Most people think attraction is shown in how someone enters an interaction. In reality, it's often exposed in how they leave it. When a woman is emotionally invested, she struggles with clean endings. Even if the greeting was brief, even if she has somewhere to be, she leaves something behind. A lingering glance, a delayed step, a smile that arrives just a second late. These moments aren't dramatic, but they're deeply honest. Psychologically, this happens because attraction resists closure. When the brain is emotionally engaged, it doesn't want the stimulus to end abruptly. Dopamine keeps the loop open. So instead of a clear exit, she creates what feels like an emotional echo. This is why she might turn back after walking away, or add one last comment that didn't need to be said, or maintain eye contact longer than the words require. She's not trying to be strategic. She's unconsciously extending connection. Philosophically, how we leave says more about attachment than how we arrive. Anyone can greet warmly. Few people struggle to disengage. That struggle is desire revealing itself without permission. Men often miss this because they're focused on what's next. They assume the interaction is over once the words stop, but attraction lingers in the pauses, in what's unsaid, unfinished, unresolved. This is also where emotional intelligence matters most. A man who recognizes this signal doesn't chase it. He doesn't call her back or demand continuation. He allows the emotional residue to exist without interference. That restraint does something powerful. It creates anticipation. By not forcing closure or extension, you leave her with a feeling instead of a conclusion. And feelings seek resolution. They don't disappear, they grow. This is why emotionally grounded men leave women thinking about them after short interactions. Not because they were impressive, but because they didn't collapse the emotional space at the end. There's also an important contrast here. A woman who isn't interested exits cleanly. No lingering energy, no return glance, no emotional aftertaste. Politeness ends when the interaction ends, but when attraction is present, the goodbye is rarely complete, and your role at this stage is critical. If you rush to lock things down, asking for reassurance, extending the interaction unnaturally, or filling the silence, you convert attraction into obligation. Obligation kills desire. Instead, you remain composed. You allow the ending to be slightly open. You let the moment end before it fully wants to. This is where masculine leadership shows itself, not in control, but in timing. Knowing when not to hold on is just as important as knowing when to engage. Over time, women associate this quality with emotional safety and mystery. Safety because you don't pressure. Mystery because you don't over-explain, and those two together are irresistible. So when she leaves you with that final glance, that unfinished smile, that subtle pause, don't interpret it as a signal to pursue harder. Interpret it as confirmation that connection already exists. Your strength lies in letting that connection work on her, because attraction doesn't deepen when you try to close the loop. It deepens when you allow it to stay open. And here's the closing truth to carry with you. The man who knows how to end an interaction without draining it becomes the man she replays in her mind long after he's gone. That is how desire grows, and that is how you stop being momentary and start being unforgettable.